They kicked me out on my birthday, told me to man up and get a job right before dessert. Then, less than 24 hours later, a lawyer looked them in the eyes and said, "Actually, he owns everything now." Hi, I'm Ellis, the invisible son, the quiet provider, the one they used until the will flipped everything. Ever been discarded by your own family, only to realize you held the knife to cut them off all along? Tell me, if the people who raised you betrayed you, would you fight back or walk away? Let's rewind to the moment they thought they were in control and watch how that illusion shattered. They told me to get a job. On my birthday, the dining room was as quiet as a morgue. No candles, no cake, not even a card. Just a plate of overcooked pot roast and that sharp, antiseptic lemon cleaner Beverly always used when she wanted things to seem presentable. The overhead light flickered once, buzzing faintly, casting a sickly hue across the cracked dining table. I sat down slowly, the only sound in the room the dull scrape of my chair against worn linoleum. Harlan sat at the head of the table, back straight, arms folded, staring at me like he was weighing how much longer he'd have to tolerate my existence. "You're too old to live rent-free," he said, not even glancing at me. "Time to man up." I blinked. "Excuse me?" "You heard him," Beverly cut in, her tone clipped, spooning mashed potatoes onto her plate with robotic precision. "You're 29, Ellis. It's time." I scanned their faces. No trace of warmth. Just the same thinly veiled contempt I'd been trying to ignore for years. For a moment, I was 19 again, standing in the kitchen, soaked in sweat, handing my mother a receipt for the new refrigerator I bought on my first paycheck. She never said thank you, just waved the receipt off and said, "Good. You're finally pulling your weight." That memory burned now, clearer than ever. I pay for the electricity, the water, the gas, the property taxes, the phone plan you use to watch your Hallmark movies, Beverly, your medical copays, Harlan, even your truck insurance. "That was your choice," she muttered, still not looking at me. "You wanted to help." "No," I said, leaning forward. "I didn't want to watch you two spiral into debt while pretending I didn't exist." Harlan dropped his fork. "Enough. You've had a free ride here for long enough. It's time you grew the hell up and got out." Beverly finally looked up at me. Her lips were pinched white. "We're not asking. This is a decision." I stood slowly. The room, once dimly lit, now felt claustrophobic, walls pressing inward, oxygen thinning. My hand brushed against the edge of the table, the same table I'd refinished 5 years ago when it was falling apart and no one else cared. They hadn't thanked me then either. "I see," I said quietly. "You waited until my birthday to evict me." Harlan scoffed. "It's just another day." I nodded. Once. I didn't yell. Didn't cry. I walked up the stairs without another word, each step creaking beneath my feet like the house itself was warning me it was never really mine. Inside my room, the only place that ever felt remotely safe, my suitcase sat half-zipped on the bed. Not because I'd planned this, but because deep down I'd known. Something in the way Beverly stopped cooking dinner for 3. The way Harlan avoided eye contact when the bills came. The way no one said happy birthday. I pulled open the drawer and took out my laptop. The screen lit my face in pale blue as I opened each tab. Electricity, gas, water, internet, cell phone plan, all in my name. I could hear their voices downstairs, low, smug, laughing like they'd won something. Click. Remove card. Click. Cancel autopay. Click. Confirmation. The first round of silence was for liberation. The next was for retribution. I pulled up the joint bank account, one Beverly insisted on for emergencies. I smiled tightly. The emergency is now. I transferred every cent into my private account and closed the joint one. Next, I called the insurance provider. Harlan's truck and Beverly's car? Removed from the policy. Then I paused. On the nightstand, next to my worn wallet, sat the cake I'd bought myself that afternoon. Cheap vanilla, smudged red icing that read, "Happy Birthday" in crooked lettering. I stared at it for a second, then shoved it off the table. It hit the floor with a dull thud. Icing smeared into the carpet. I finished packing, folded clothes, grabbed my charger, looked once around the room. On the wall hung an old family photo. I was maybe 12. My corner of the frame had cracked years ago. I tore it down and tossed it face down onto the bed. As I opened the door, the hallway lights flickered, the electric cut I'd just processed taking effect. Faint shouts echoed from below. I made my way downstairs, suitcase in hand. Beverly sat on the couch with a glass of wine, remote in hand, hitting buttons that no longer worked. Harlan stared at the black TV screen like it owed him an explanation. "You turn off the lights?" he barked, not even turning. I paused by the door. "You'll be the one sitting in the dark," I said coldly. And then I left. Outside, the wind had picked up. Leaves scraped across the sidewalk in twisting spirals. My car was parked 2 blocks away, far enough that they wouldn't notice it missing before morning. I inhaled the cold air, letting it settle deep into my lungs. I wasn't running. I was ending it. "Happy birthday," I muttered to myself and kept walking. I didn't sleep that night. Even after I'd left the house, even after the chill of freedom wrapped itself around my chest like armor, my mind raced. Their words echoed between my ears like thunder in a tin can. Time to man up. We're not asking. This is a decision. The echo only quieted around dawn when my phone buzzed. Unknown number. Voicemail. Then a text. "This is Avery Strand, attorney for the estate of Marshall Quinn. You've been named. Please arrive at 9 a.m. sharp for reading of the will." I read it twice. Then once more. Marshall Quinn. My grandfather. The one Harlan barely mentioned unless it was to complain. I remembered him more clearly than anyone realized. He was old school, stern but fair, with hands like tree bark and a laugh that only came out once he'd decided you earned it. He used to sneak me cookies and call me the only sane one in the bloodline. And then one day, he vanished from our lives, shipped to some facility in another county. He didn't want visitors, Beverly had said when I asked. Now he was dead. And apparently I'd been named. The law office was a stone building that looked like it belonged in a noir film. Columns, polished oak doors, not a single welcome mat. Inside, the air was dry and cold, like secrets sealed in marble. The ticking of a wall clock was the only sound until the door creaked open behind me. Avery Strand greeted me with a nod. Tall, gray suit, hair pulled back so tightly it made her eyes sharper. She didn't smile. "We'll wait for the others," she said. "Others?" The door opened again. Harlan. Beverly. Uncle Wade. Wade wore sunglasses indoors and chewed gum like he was starring in a forgotten western. Harlan's expression when he saw me was somewhere between surprise and contempt. Beverly looked like she'd aged 10 years since last night. Wrinkled collar, smudged mascara, and an empty pearl necklace like a choked apology. "No cameras," Avery said curtly. "No recordings. No interruptions." We sat. The chairs were leather, high-backed, too stiff to relax in. The kind of chairs that remind you comfort isn't part of the process. Avery cleared her throat. "The following is the final will and testament of Marshall Joseph Quinn." She read slowly, each word landing like a drumbeat. "To my son, Harlan Quinn, I leave my coin collection and my apologies." Harlan jolted forward. Excuse me? Avery continued without a blink. To my daughter-in-law, Beverly, I leave my recipe box and the hope she learns to cook without poison. A few gasps slipped from behind me, law clerks, maybe. I choked on a laugh. Beverly's hands twitched. To my grandson, Ellis, I leave the Quinn estate, both properties, full control of the family trust, and executor rights over all financial assets related to the Quinn name. Silence. Not just quiet. True silence. The kind that drops a bomb in your chest and waits to see what comes up.
No.
No, this is some kind of joke, Harlan barked.
He was sick.
He wasn't in his right mind. Avery raised a remote and pressed play. A video flickered to life on the flat screen behind her. Marshall Quinn appeared. Older. Thinner. But those eyes were sharp. If you're seeing this, I'm dead. And if they're complaining, it means I chose correctly. Ellis was the only one who showed up when I was forgotten. He came when no one else did. He listened. He paid. The rest of you abandoned me. He looked straight at the camera. Blood doesn't entitle you. Behavior does. The screen faded to black. Wade cursed under his breath. Harlan looked like he was ready to flip the table. This is fraud. Harlan shouted. That house, those funds, those are mine. I built that family name. I kept my voice calm.
No.
You leached off it. I kept it alive. Beverly's voice cracked. You don't understand what you're doing. You're young. You'll mismanage everything. That trust was set up for me, I said, cutting her off, by a man you discarded like junk mail. Wade leaned back, chuckling darkly. This ain't over. Inheritance law's complicated. I'll contest it. Avery finally looked up. All assets have already been transferred. The deeds have been filed. The financial accounts frozen to all except Ellis. And Mr. Quinn left a notarized statement of mental competency, signed 2 weeks before his passing. No one spoke. Avery then slid a slim folder across the table to me. Inside, a full list of assets, trust codes, transfer confirmations. And at the very top, an envelope with my name in Marshall's handwriting. I didn't open it. Not yet. Harlan's face was burning red now. You think you've won? I stood slowly, sliding the folder into my bag. You told me to get a job, I said, looking him in the eye. Turns out, I just inherited yours. Have you ever been told you were nothing, only to find out you were the one holding all the power? That moment when the tables turn and the silence finally breaks? If you've ever felt underestimated by your own family, comment 7 below. Let's see what I do with his unexpected inheritance. As I passed them, Beverly muttered something I couldn't make out. I felt her fingers twitch toward my sleeve, like she wanted to reach for me. But I didn't stop. I didn't flinch. Outside, the wind hit hard, ripping my coat open. I buttoned it slowly, deliberately. Across the street, a man in a hoodie stared at the building like he'd just heard the blast. I passed him without a glance. My phone buzzed. A message from Cashin. Wade's already poking the courts. You good? I typed 1 sentence. Let him try. As I reached the corner, I heard a car door slam behind me. I didn't turn. Back at the apartment, I finally opened the envelope. Inside was a simple note. Ellis, if they ever made you feel small, I hope this makes you feel permanent. MQ. I folded it once, set it beside the documents, and let myself breathe for the first time in a decade. The first night back in my apartment was silent. Not peaceful, not restful, just silent. The kind of silence that sits on your chest and watches you breathe. I lay on the floor beside the folder Avery had given me. Pages of proof, power, and paper trails. In the corner, the envelope from Marshall sat untouched, even though I'd already opened it. I read his words again just to feel grounded. If they ever made you feel small, I hope this makes you feel permanent. That sentence became my oxygen. By morning, I wasn't just Ellis Quinn, evicted son. I was Ellis Quinn, legal heir, executor, and sole owner of every name and number the Quinn family had tried to hide behind. So I started pulling the plug. First, I logged into the water account. The balance showed paid by E. Quinn on every line for the last 6 years. I clicked cancel service without blinking. Electricity, same story.
Gas.
Internet.
Gone.
One by one, I killed their comfort systems. By noon, I got the first text. From Beverly. Internet isn't working. Did something happen? I'm calling the company now. I didn't reply. 10 minutes later, another message. Water's out. Are you messing with the utilities? We're trying to shower here. Still nothing from me. By 1 p.m., Harlan called. I let it ring. Then I opened the security app and removed their address from the home monitoring system I'd set up 3 years ago. No more digital keys. No more camera access. No more protection. That night, I scrolled through the neighborhood Facebook group. I didn't have to post anything. Others were doing it for me. Anyone know why the Quinn house is pitch black? Saw Beverly trying to reset the main breaker out front in her bathrobe. Harlan was at the gas station asking for spare jugs of water? I didn't laugh. Not yet. It wasn't about cruelty. It was about calibration. They needed to feel it. The void I left. Not just the money. The structure. The dependency. Cashin messaged me around 7 p.m. "Want to see something?" He sent a screenshot. It was a breakdown of a credit card under my name, one I never opened. The transaction list read like a yearbook of Beverly's impulsiveness. Department stores, spa treatments, subscription wine boxes. Every charge tied back to an address I hadn't lived at in 5 years. "You think I can press charges for identity theft?" I asked him. Without blinking, Cashin replied. I filed the report that night.
Fraud.
Misuse of personal financial data. Unauthorized credit lines. It wasn't about getting money back. It was about writing my name where it had always been erased. The next morning, I froze their access to the joint emergency account. The one Beverly used just in case but conveniently forgot to replenish. Then I called the insurance company and pulled both of their vehicles off my plan. By noon, my phone rang again. This time, it was Harlan. I answered. He didn't say hello, just barked, "What the hell are you doing?" "I think it's pretty clear." "You think this makes you strong?" he snapped. "You look like a spiteful brat. I look like the person who's been funding your life while you called me a parasite." There was a pause. A long one. "You're making a mistake," he said finally. "We're family." "No," I said coldly. "We were an arrangement, and now it's expired." I hung up. 15 minutes later, Beverly left a voicemail. Her voice was ragged. "We're cold, Ellis. We can't cook. We can't bathe. Your father's pacing like a caged animal. This isn't right. Please." I stared at the wall and let the message play twice. Then I deleted it. I wasn't done. Next, I logged into our streaming platforms. Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime. All mine. I changed every password. I deleted their profiles. It was petty, and it was perfect. I went a step further. I opened my social media. Quietly, I made a post. Just one line. Some people only feel you when you stop carrying them. Within 20 minutes, I had 10 private messages from old neighbors, high school classmates, even 2 former teachers. One of them wrote, "Always wondered why you never moved out. Now I get it." It felt like exhaling for the first time in years. And yet, part of me still waited. For the scream, the final guilt trip, the last thread they'd try to tug. It came at midnight. Cashin sent me a photo taken at the grocery store. Beverly, in tears, arguing with the cashier because the shared debit card had been declined. Attached to the message, he wrote, "They're unraveling." I shut my laptop and smiled. Funny thing about lies, if you repeat them long enough, you start to forget who you told the truth to. That line looped in my head as I stared at the mountain of files on my desk. Old folders, printed bank statements, color-coded sticky notes, and screenshots on my monitor formed a wall of evidence. A slow breath escaped me. This wasn't just revenge. This was excavation. And I was digging up every root they ever tried to bury me under. Cashin sat across from me, laptop open, eyes sharp behind wire-rimmed glasses. "4 counts," he said. "All open before you turn 21. Each one used your social security number. And look, same address. Same handwriting on the paper applications." I didn't need to look. I already knew.
Beverly.
When I was 19, I had a scholarship. Full ride. Still, she'd pull me aside after a school event, smiling in that way she did when she wanted something. "It's just a safety net," she said, sliding a folder toward me. "You'll thank us later." I didn't even read it. I just signed where she pointed. And now that safety net had become a noose tied tightly around both their necks, and I held the other end. Cashin passed me a folder. "That's not all. Harlan filed a fake veteran exemption 3 years ago. Said he did reserve service. Government site says there's no record of him ever enlisting." I raised an eyebrow. "Tax fraud too? Lovely." We didn't laugh. That evening, I opened a private browser window and typed 3 words into the local Facebook group, Riversend Voice. The post was short, measured, designed not to scream, but to bleed. What kind of parent builds a house of lies using their child's credit? Attached were blurred screenshots, loan documents, credit lines, a tax exemption form. Enough to feel real, not enough to be sued.
For now.
As I hit post, the room slowed. The hum of my monitor dropped away. Even my own breathing quieted. The sound of the keyboard echoed louder in my ears, like a heartbeat.
Click.
Return. The screen refreshed. It was live. Within minutes, comments started pouring in. "Is this about the Quinn family? I always wondered how Beverly drove a new car every winter. Wait, isn't that Ellis's old address on those forms?" I leaned back, letting the screen glow over me. The next blow came from Beverly herself. She sent me an email with the subject line, "Let's talk." Inside, a plea. Long winding. Apologetic in the way liars apologize when they still want something. We were desperate. We meant to fix it. Please don't drag this out in public. We can negotiate. I forwarded it to Cashin, added it as an update to the anonymous post. Let them see how quickly remorse comes when exposure starts to burn. Later that night, Cashin messaged me again. "You need to see this." It was a shaky phone video. Someone had filmed Beverly at a family barbecue last year, wine glass in hand, laughing too loud. "Oh, come on," she said to the group. "It's not fraud. I was just building Ellis's credit score for him. He'll thank me someday." They all laughed. Cashin didn't. I uploaded that video clip too. Have you ever reached that breaking point when exposing the truth felt more healing than hiding the pain? That second when silence became complicity and you refused to stay quiet? If you've ever had to speak up for yourself, comment 9 below. Now, let's see how the town reacts when the curtain finally drops. At the cafe the next morning, I sat near the back, headphones in but nothing playing. I watched the town swirl around me. People glancing at their phones, whispering. Then Maura Ellis stood up near the counter. "He's a snake," she said. "Ungrateful. After all they gave him, He goes and smears their name. Her voice carried, righteous and sharp. Before anyone could respond, a younger woman at the next table stood up. "Funny," she said, loud enough for all to hear. "I remember Ellis paying for Beverly's car repairs when she got stuck in a snowstorm. She didn't even thank him." The room shifted. Eyes turned. Maura blinked, stunned. And just like that, the tide changed. Camera phones didn't rise, but every whisper was a slash across Maura's pride. I walked home in silence. That night, the local news station posted a segment online. The Quinn dispute, hidden abuse or ungrateful child? The clip ran 6 minutes. A lawyer, independent and stone-faced, explained every document. Each clip showed a screenshot from the post. "If these documents are authentic," she said, "we're looking at long-term financial coercion, identity fraud, and emotional manipulation, potentially criminal in nature." The word criminal echoed longer than any other. At home, I opened a dusty drawer. Inside was a bundle of envelopes wrapped in twine. Old debt notices. One in particular stood out, the original student loan account. I unfolded the first page and stared at the shaky signature. My name,
but not my hand.
Beverly had tried to imitate my cursive, and failed.
I stared at it for a long time.
Traced the wobble in the Q with my finger. My chest didn't hurt. It just felt still. The phone rang around midnight. Voicemail. It was Beverly's voice, brittle as glass. "Your father hasn't eaten. He just sits and stares. If he dies, it's on you. Are you happy now, Ellis? You did this." The voice crackled at the end like a haunted radio. I played it once, then again, and finally I hit record. Because this wasn't guilt. It was proof. They handed me the debt. I'm just returning the inheritance. They taught me silence meant respect. Today, I teach them silence means guilt. The courtroom smelled like old wood and disappointment. I stood at the plaintiff's table, dressed in black. Not for drama, not for effect, but because I wanted no color distracting from the truth. Across the aisle sat Beverly and Harlan, both dressed like they were auditioning for pity. She wore pearls. He wore a tie he clearly hadn't tied himself. Neither looked at me. Judge Karen Lindsley entered, gavel hitting like thunder. Cameras weren't allowed inside, but that didn't stop the hum outside. Live streamers, bloggers, and gossip junkies all waiting for someone to bleed. Beverly was the first to speak. "We were abandoned in our old age," she said, voice trembling just enough. "We didn't understand the finances. We trusted our son. And now he's turned the world against us." I didn't respond, just slid a folder across the table to my lawyer. He stood, nodded to the judge. "Your Honor, we present 19 separate financial documents, all opened in the name of Ellis Quinn without his knowledge or consent. Note the signatures." He handed a packet to the clerk. Judge Lindsley flipped through them slowly. There was no background music in that room, just the scratch of her pen on the pages and the soft rattle of paper. Even people's breathing had gone shallow. Every shuffle sounded amplified. My lawyer continued. "These signatures do not match Mr. Quinn's handwriting. Some documents were filed when Mr. Quinn was underage. Furthermore, the listed addresses are properties he never resided at. We also present bank statements showing Mr. Quinn's personal account covering household expenses while both defendants were actively misusing his credit." Cashin took the stand next.
"Come."
Measured. I assisted Mr. Quinn in reviewing his financial history. These accounts, credit cards, auto loans, even utility bills, were opened and managed without his access. In many cases, charges continued after he'd moved out. The address associated with the majority of these accounts matches that of the defendants. Harlan snapped. So, you're suing your parents? For raising you? I stood.
No. For robbing me.
Repeatedly. A murmur went through the courtroom. Beverly started crying. Loud, performative sobs. I'm still your mother, she gasped. How can you do this? Judge Lindsley didn't blink. Control yourself, or you'll be removed. She shut up. I took the stand next. The room got quiet. No music. No whispers. Just the creak of seats and the thick sound of people holding their breath. I told the story. Not of pain, of patterns. The car payments. The emergency account. The fake scholarships. The night she slapped me at 22 for asking why her handbag had been charged to my card. She screamed, "Are you accusing your own mother?" I said evenly, "Today I'm not accusing. I'm proving." I turned to face them. You called me ungrateful, but I paid for everything while you sold my name. As I stepped down, Beverly reached forward, trying to grab my hand. Her fingers trembled. I stepped back without a word. Silence followed me back to my seat. For a moment, as we waited for the verdict, my eyes wandered across the gallery. A man in scrubs stood quietly near the back, mid-50s, familiar eyes. It took me a second to place him, one of the night nurses from Grandpa Quinn's care home. He gave me a slight nod. Recognition. Respect. No one else noticed. Judge Lindsley's ruling came 30 minutes later. She signed the papers slowly, deliberately. The camera on the court reporter's desk didn't move, but in my mind, the moment slowed. Each stroke of her pen sounded louder than any gavel. We find in favor of the plaintiff. Alice Quinn is hereby recognized as the financial victim in this matter. The court rejects the defendant's countersuit and refers the case for formal investigation of credit abuse and financial coercion.
Gasps.
Beverly collapsed into her chair, sobbing into her sleeves. Harlan sat like a statue, face blank, eyes hollow. Behind them, a little boy tugged his mother's sleeve and whispered, "Why is everyone mad at the old lady?" On our way out, I passed the hall mirror near the main door. For a second, I caught my reflection. Broad shoulders, straight spine, eyes unflinching. It wasn't the version of me they'd raised. It was the version they tried to suppress. And failed. Outside the courtroom, I passed the same nurse again. He gave me a thumbs up this time. Still no words. I didn't need any. In the corridor, Cashin handed me his phone. "Anonymous tip," he said. "Came in 5 minutes ago." The email read, "There's a hidden trust fund. Your mother blocked access years ago. It was meant for you." I stared at the screen, expression unreadable. The war wasn't over. But the verdict had just handed me the fire to finish it. They erased my name from every room in that house, so I carved it into every page they try to hide. The banker slid the final form across the glass desk. Initial here, then sign. My pen didn't tremble. Not anymore. The trust fund had been real. Set up when I was 18 by my grandfather. Blocked from me ever since. Hidden under years of mail tampering, lies, and silence. Today, I accessed it legally because truth, when armed with evidence, doesn't knock. It walks in. Cashin stood behind me, silent as ever.
He didn't need to say anything.
He'd helped me cross every legal hurdle, track every dollar, expose every manipulation. Today wasn't a celebration. It was reclamation. The screen flashed. Balance, $642,817.92. The room didn't spin. I didn't gasp. I simply exhaled. Finally. Outside the bank lobby, the light shifted. Warm gold poured in from the tall glass windows, casting my silhouette onto the marble floor. As I stood up, the receptionist hit a key on her keyboard. A soft, deliberate click echoed from the lobby plaque behind me. Quinn Estate, legal holder, Ellis M. Quinn. No longer in trust. No longer care of parents. That sound echoed like a final seal. Not dramatic, just irrevocable. No music played. Just the faint hum of air vents, a soft breeze from the automatic doors, and my own steady breath. The kind of quiet that felt earned. My phone buzzed. An email from Harlan. You'll regret this. One day. I didn't open it.
Didn't need to.
Threats only sting when you still want the relationship. I archived it without blinking. The house sat empty when I arrived. I had keys now. Legal ones. Inside, the air was stale. Walls once covered in framed family photos were stripped bare. Except one. In the back room, my grandfather's den, a single picture still hung. Him holding my hand when I was 10. Both of us laughing under the old oak tree. Below it, the hand-painted quote he loved. Legacy isn't about blood. It's about choice. I took it down gently. There was nothing else worth saving. In the hallway, I found a faded box labeled Ellis, old clothes. Inside, a sweater I wore at 13. It still smelled faintly of cedar and dust. I carried it downstairs. Beverly stood on the curb, watching. I walked over and held it out to her. You kept this, I said. You can keep it now, for real. She reached for it with trembling fingers, but I didn't wait for a thank you. I turned, walked back to the door, and closed it behind me. The sound rang out like punctuation. Upstairs, I paused near the mirror in the hallway. The light from the window landed across half my face, bright, resolute, while the other half remained shadowed in the dim hallway. For the first time, I saw both sides of myself. The one that survived them, and the one that never became them. Neighbors peeked through curtains. No one jeered. No one turned away. Just quiet recognition in a few nods. No fanfare. Just truth acknowledged. At my new place, a modest apartment 2 neighborhoods over. The sunlight slanted through open windows. Clean floors. Unmarked walls. No ghosts. A little girl from across the hall peeked into my doorway as I set down the photo. Are you moving in? She asked. You look like someone who won a prize. I smiled. Something like that. Cashin dropped off the final documents that afternoon. Ownership transferred. Investigation closed. Reputation cleared. You did it, he said. I didn't become them, I replied. We shook hands. No fanfare. No promises. Just mutual respect and closure. That evening, I unpacked the last box. Inside was an old notebook, leather-bound, pages yellowed with time. I flipped it open to the very first line I wrote at 21. One day I'll leave.
Not in shame.
In strength. I hadn't read it in years. My handwriting back then had wavered, unsure. Today it was steady. Later, I sat by the window, twilight spilling gold across the hardwood. On the table, the deed. Ellis Quinn, sole beneficiary. Not a son. Not a dependent. Not an afterthought. A man who fought for his own name. Downstairs, in the mailbox, was a small envelope with no return address. Inside, a single line, written in looping cursive. You were never the problem.
M.
No signature. Just truth. The wind stirred outside, brushing dry leaves across the pavement. No soundtrack. No climax. Just life. And for the first time in years, I wasn't waiting for the other shoe to drop. I was already walking away from the wreckage, towards something entirely mine. I no longer live in the shadow of their expectations. I walk through days with my head high, knowing that peace isn't given. It's earned, and I earned every ounce of it. If there's one truth I've learned, it's this. When you stop apologizing for being the only one who cared, the world stops mistaking your silence for weakness. Dignity isn't something they can take, it's something you reclaim. Have you ever had to walk away from the people who are supposed to love you most? Share your story in the comments because your voice matters, and sometimes speaking up is the beginning of everything. And if this journey resonated with you, stay with us. There's more truth to tell.